without any further ado, we're going to hear from my friend Johan van Kooten, who's Strategic Director at AMPECO, about something very exciting, about software-enabled capability around charge point operation. How do we actually bring together so much information, data, knowledge, and experience, and how do we build that and help charge point operators consolidate all of that into something that enables them to make money? Because let's not forget, the big ambition in all of what we see here today, all of what we heard upstairs, etc., yes, is to change things for the better, but it is also to set up, establish, and operate profitable businesses. The word sustainability also applies to economic business sustainability. So that is something I think is going to be very useful. So I've given you a bit of a warm-up. So would you please put your hands together and big warm welcome to Johan van Kooten, please. Welcome to the stage.
Is it working?
Yeah, it's working.
Yeah? Okay, great. First of all, it's great to be here, to see so many familiar faces, but I also see a lot of new ones, which is great as well. My name is Johan van Kooten. I'm Strategic Business Development Director at AMPECO. And today I would like to focus on the topic of software systems and the important role that they play for CPOs and MSPs, with the main focus on build, buy, or hybrid, and finding the right path to profitability and differentiation. So we are experiencing a fundamental shift in the industry at the moment. Well, we have collectively succeeded in Europe to build a charging infrastructure. A new reality is emerging. Counting plugs and locations, it's not anymore what really matters, at least not alone. And the truth is that many CPOs nowadays struggle with profitability. Well, there's still an uptake of EVs. And the most successful CPOs have already made a shift from what we call from quantity to quality. So it means that they start focusing on network uptime, because every time a charging station is down, it means that there's no revenue that's being generated and the customer has a bad experience as well. Operational efficiency is another important topic, because a lot of CPOs are scaling their network, and doing that as efficient as possible is also an important lever to cut costs. They try to optimize their utilization rates by attracting EV drivers to their sites, and they do that by getting partnerships in place, for example, with automotive OEMs and leasing companies, to make sure that EV drivers visit their locations. And even an example where they partner up with their competitors. Recently, the Spark Alliance has been launched between Atlante, Ionity, Fastnet, and Electra. And they also realized that differentiation is another important topic. And last but not least, they try to optimize the customer experience to make sure that EV drivers return to their sites. Because when the first charge is not successful, there's a big chance that these EV drivers will not return to your location or even your network in general. And what we have just discussed has also been confirmed by some leading CPOs, because we previously organized a masterclass at another event where more than 100 people participated from big CPOs and MSPs. And we asked them several questions. And in line with the topic of today, I would like to go over a few of those together with you. So first of all, we see that the ambitions are big. So a lot of respondents, around 74%, stated that they expect to operate a network of 3,000 plus to 50,000 plus charging stations in the coming years. 42% even stated to expect 10,000 to 50,000 plugs the coming years. And another important lever for them is that, that efficiency and profitability is another important topic. Preparing for this next shift in the industry, where the focus is on operational efficiency, is really happening. And we also see that they start to realize that it's important to get more control over their business, meaning that big operators want to control their contractual and commercial agreement, both with their customers and also with their roaming partners. They try to build a sustainable business model and therefore avoid any known or hidden fees per kilowatt hour or per transaction. And last but not least, they realize that it's important to differentiate to win over B2C and B2B customers. And with all of what we have discussed, it's really crucial to make sure that you have the right CPMS, so the charge point management software, in place. And that's the topic that I would like to zoom into with you today. And I understand that sometimes it's hard to draw a clear picture about the different CPMS systems in the market. So on one hand, you have, we call it the buy approach, where you can select an all-in-one CPMS player, and most of the time they come along together with the platform with additional services and products like SIM cards. They provide you the roaming contracts and the first-line support, for example. And on the other end, you also see pure platform, software platform players who really focus on the IT side of the business, and they enable you to integrate with your existing ecosystem. And then we also have the option of the build approach. So it's clear that if you want to be active as a CPO or MSP, you need to get a CPMS system in place. And this brings us to a common dilemma. Should you build your own platform, or should you buy an existing solution from the market? And before making this strategic decision on the build or buy approach, it's important to assess the core decision-making criteria. And I would like to go over a few of them. First of all, your time to market. So how fast do you want to start operating your network? Is it 6 months? Is it 12 months? Is it 24 months from now? And this decision will have an important impact on your buy versus build route. And then the question is, how willing are you to invest, and what budget do you have? Because if you want to build your own solution, it sets you back at least around 500,000 to 1 million euros for the first minimal viable product in the coming 12 months. And which use cases do you want to focus? Do you have one simple use case that you want to cover, or do you want to focus on several use cases, which also will increase the number of requirements that you will have to build for your CPMS system? And customization, how important is this topic for you as well? Do you want to have your own app in place, your own portal, or are you fine to go with the white label solution of an existing solution? And IP ownership is another important topic. But the question is, do you want to own the IP over the whole solution, or are you also okay with owning the IP of the most strategic components? And last but not least, how important is the EV charging business in your overall strategy? Is it something that's just a necessary side business, or do you have big ambitions and do you want to operate 5,000, 10,000, 30,000 plus sockets in the coming years? And those criteria are, of course, not exhaustive. There might be a few more, there might be a few others that's important for you, but at least something that you should know. If you want to decide on the build versus buy route, it's important to go over them one by one and not focus on just only one or two. And then at a certain moment in time, you have made your decision. You either went for the build approach or for the buy approach. And the question is, will your decision stand the test of time? So I would like to take you along on the build and the buy journey. And from this perspective, I would like to start with the buy journey. A statement like, we need everything out of the box, it should be quick and easy, and we want to operate as quick as possible, is typically a statement that we see for companies that go on the buy route. And after a few months, they are already live, they have traction in the market, they're operating a network, they're rolling out partnerships and sockets in the market, and at that moment in time, efficiency and profitability might not be the highest points on the agenda. And on the build, where the companies that consider the build solution, we see a typical statement like, we want to build it ourselves. There's no platform in the market that's flexible enough or good enough to support our use cases, or we want to have IP ownership. And then after a year, you have your first minimal viable product live. The roadmap is, of course, full also for the coming 12 months as well. And the software development costs are at that stage quite under control. But then things are going well. Your network is scaling up, you roll out a lot of sites, including a lot of sockets. And then the question is, is this still the right decision? So let's have a look at the impact on your original decision in this context. From the buy approach, when things are scaling up, on the positive side, we see that the out-of-the-box platform allowed you to build up a sustainable network with a solid number of plugs, and you can focus really on growing your operations. On the other hand, we also see some challenges, because as soon as you're scaling up, you might start experiencing some functional gaps in the platform, or you start realizing that you don't have enough control over the key components that are important for you. And on the build approach, when things again are scaling up, you see that you have built some functional differentiators that might have helped you win some key customers as well. And the platform is completely tailored to your own operational needs, which might make it very efficient. And on the challenges, as soon as you see that things are scaling up, you will see some scalability issues, and you need to solve those. And the time that you put in solving those issues might not be, you cannot use it to further develop your existing functionalities. And the roadmap is growing, and maybe it's growing a bit too fast as well. And in the end, you are also responsible for the security topic and the 24/7 uptime of your platform. There's nobody else to blame when your platform is down. And also the EV market in itself is evolving. And on one hand, you have must-haves where you have to comply with, like regulation and industry standards, such as OCPP, OCPI. We all know AFIR, I suppose, if you're active in the DACH region. IGECT is another important topic. And nowadays, we also see a lot of questions around fiscalizations. But you also want to stay ahead of the curve. So you want to focus on market innovations as well, which are, you want to enable dynamic energy pricing or advanced energy management, ISO 15118. You realize that on a lot of locations there's not enough capacity available, so smart charging is an important topic. And if you want to scale your network, topics like self-healing capabilities, predictive maintenance might start to play a role as well. And if you went for the buy approach, the platform vendor is managing this, at least they should. And if you went for the build approach, those must-haves come already on top of an already full roadmap. And the things that you would like to focus on as well, like the market innovations, I think things are mixing up now. Yes, there we are. And if you go for the build approach, then the must-haves come on top of already full roadmap. And the market innovations might not get enough attention because, you need to comply, otherwise you cannot operate. And then we are further down the line, and challenges are piling up. And the question is it time to re-evaluate your strategy? So when you go to the buy approach, when you choose the buy approach, the usual conclusion is like, we need more control on our platform to be much more efficient and to be able to differentiate. And that results in the question, should we start developing in-house? Or we don't have the time, we don't have the resources. And on the buy approach, you see that development and maintenance costs are piling up, and you might build features and functionalities too slow. And then we see the question, is there a mature and flexible enough platform to make sure that we keep control, we keep our differentiating factors, and we are future-proof as well? And that leads to a question, is there a solution that can offer the best of both worlds? And at AMPECO, we believe there is, and we call it the hybrid approach. The AMPECO Hybrid solution, as you can see here in the middle, is a very interesting option since it's designed for scalability and differentiation. Whether you're moving away from a SaaS solution that's holding you back or an in-house solution that's draining resources, this solution in the middle is a best of both worlds, is how we say it. So at AMPECO, we are able to deliver you different flavors. First of all, you can get all the functionalities, market-leading functionalities, out of the box, fully white label, with a white label platform and a white label app. But it's also possible to replace certain components, like the app, for example, or even specific components in the platform. And last but not least, we have also developed what we call a plugin architecture approach, where you are able to customize key elements within the white label AMPECO solution. So you can really focus on the things that matter for you to differentiate from your competition. So we give you everything out of the box. That's definitely a possibility. You get all the functionalities that you need around smart charging, billing, invoicing, and all the other functionalities to operate your network. And at the moment, of course, this is still the majority of our customers, because also they told us we want to operate quickly and we want to get stuff out of the box. But then you go into tenders, or you start having IDs, or maybe even worse, you work in a market where there are competition also working with the AMPECO platform, for example. So that's when we get the question, I want to have this or that functionality, can you develop it for me to make sure that I can differentiate? And that's where we say, that's possible, and that's what we allow as well. And that means you see here that you can replace entire customer-facing components, like the app or the portal, where you fully replace it with your own interface. But you can also replace certain parts. So if you have your own CRM system, finance system, or you want to do your EV driver management from your own CRM system, for example, we allow that as well. And I saw that I need to speed up a bit, so I will speed up on the slide. So it means in the end, we give you 80% of AMPECO, and 20% you can build on top. And don't quote me on the numbers, but there has definitely some benefits, because it gives you a lot of flexibility. You can create a unique customer experience, and it's really intuitive to integrate with your existing IT architecture. But it still requires quite a lot of development from your side. And in the end, you are responsible for your part to make sure that it's aligned with security regulation and that the uptime is proposed there as well. But then we get the question like, yeah, I still need to do a lot of development. So the 80-20% is quite interesting for a good amount of customers, but not for all. And that's where we deliver the plug-in architecture approach. And that's what we believe is really the next step in the EV charging industry. So the world is already used to this kind of things when you think about the Salesforce or a Microsoft Dynamics. 20 years ago, people thought about building their own CRM system. Now you just select a flexible CRM system, you put a good amount of time in it to make it feel like yours, but you're not going to build it from scratch anymore yourself. And that's what we said, we want to be that type of company. We want to be the Salesforce of EV charging. And therefore, we allow our customers to build embedded user interfaces into our existing white label AMPECO interfaces. And that means that the components that you replace can be even smaller. You just put on top a small component in the mobile app, or you further enhance the existing customer portal. And let me give you a few examples of those. So one of our customers, they had a loyalty program which was tightly integrated with their existing loyalty program, and they wanted to develop this themselves. And we allow them to develop this functionality within the white label AMPECO app. Another example is a parking operator from Spain. They have parking barriers at a lot of their locations, and they said, we don't want our customers to go from one app to open the parking barrier to the AMPECO app to start a session. And that's where we allow them to build the functionality within the existing white label environment, where their customers can open up the parking barriers. And another thing is custom registration flows. So this is the app, and that's where it all started. And now we get the same questions from the portal and the other customer interfaces. So we also allow our customers, from this year, it will be released, as you can see, to build on top of the white label backend system of AMPECO their own features and functionalities. And this is an example of a fleet customer that wanted to embed fleet-related functionalities. Another example is about the user data within the AMPECO environment. So you have your own CRM or your own invoicing system, but you want to see some of the highlights in the existing AMPECO environment to use one interface. So this means 95% of AMPECO and 5% that you customize yourself. And the advantages are that you have, it's quick to develop, you can focus on the things that matter, but there are also some disadvantages, because you cannot rework the whole charging flow. But to be honest, we get much more flexible. And then the question is, I still need to develop. And yes, that's right. But we give you 3 different options. You can develop this yourself, you can ask AMPECO to develop it for you, and we are also building up an implementation partner network to do this as well. And this is where AMPECO really pushes the limits of the EV charging industry, customizing your interfaces. We are launching an app marketplace, and also AI is going to play an important role. So my last slide is with the question, do you have the right CPMS in place to make the shift from quantity to quality? Exactly in time, Roger.
Fantastic. Can we have a big round of applause, please, for Johan from AMPECO? Johan, that was fantastic. So I'm sure if anybody wants more of the detail information, wants to follow up on what you've seen, you can come and get that. But yeah, no, that was very good. And I'm very impressed you kept the time. Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Because